That tells me with the undervotes and the Republicans that the Democrats didn't vote in their candidate, the Republicans failed to vote in theirs. And so that's my big thing when I talk to Republican clubs and Republican voters, that if we don't vote down ballot, Democrats have that saying, no matter who we vote blue. But Republicans tend to want to, we're more responsible, we're more educated. If we don't know, we'd rather not pick one. But that's working against us. Because by not voting for the Republican, you are therefore voting for the Democrat.
Yeah, but I must add in here that we pushed to get, the vote all Republican, straight across the ballot. We pushed so that people would stop and have to pick.
Yeah.
So that hasn't really kicked in until this time, if you think about it.
The no straight ticket voting?
Right.
That we've actually had the last two years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we haven't seen how that plays out yet.
Yeah, we have data. So the Democrats vote about 86% of the time they'll vote down ballot. Republicans are 73%.
Oh, that's pathetic. So why did we push this?
I know.
Is this, in your thoughts, is this because of lack of education on our part getting out to the people who vote but don't know how to vote and vote correctly now?
Absolutely.
So they can be educated?
I think it's two things. One, yes, I think we need to do more education to make sure people feel educated going into the ballot, because, like I said, Democrats are going to vote D no matter who. No matter who, we vote blue. The Republicans, we tend to be more responsible. We want to be more educated. We're critical thinkers. And so we think we're doing the right thing by not voting if we don't know, right? But by not voting for the Republican, you are voting for the Democrat. A non-decision is a decision. And I think that's the message we need to get across.
A little bit of an observation.
Mm-hmm.
We're at every Republican CEC meeting for years now.
Mm-hmm.
And, people vote for who they like and who they see and blah, blah, blah. But the judges, to me, they stay in a bubble. And I know everybody's busy, and I know big caseload and all that.
Yeah.
But the face and the judges are not at the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
Todd comes frequently. I don't know who else does. You? But these are the people getting out to vote. We have
Appel's been there.
We have Appel. Yeah. We'll talk about him after the meeting. 254 people that are working on getting the vote out.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that need. They need
Yeah.
some face time. I'm not saying all the time. But they need some popping in, and, Julie Bray Patterson was the best, and that's why she's in right now.
Yeah.
The only one that did. But she got all of them together, and let's go, and she made the connection. So just a thought of another untapped resource.
Yeah, that's a good point. One of the things to remember, I absolutely think we need to make one or two of those meetings. You got to remember that we have 32 Republicans clubs and county executive committees, right? So, and one of the reasons I'm talking to these guys is I'm trying to figure out a campaign manager that can tell me across 32 counties where I need to spend my time, right? But I think you're absolutely right. But you got to remember there's 1.2 million votes in this race. And so 254, I think those are important votes because those are active. They're going to not just vote, they're going to tell 100, 200 people. Absolutely, that seems worthwhile, but it's difficult to prioritize your time. But I absolutely think that's a warranted point.
Thank you for that. We were meeting in Kendall County last night, and they talked about the big bear in the room. You know who that is?
The big bear in the room.
That's what they talked about, Bear County.
Oh, yeah,
Because we are the biggest number of
Yeah.
voters.
yeah. It's Bear County, and then Webb
So
County's the
it's kinda
second. Yeah,
rough, But
yeah,
and I'm, just a thought.
Biggest number of losers right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
The good thing is, over the last 3 election cycles, Republicans have lost by less in Bear County each time,
Well, we're working,
right?
We're trying, we're all, in this
Yeah.
room, we're all working on it.
Yeah.
All the time, right, Mike?
That's right.
Lori, can you talk about a couple
Even if
cases
it's Appel.
Lori, can you talk about a couple cases that come up before the court and how you might have ruled on them, how you give some thought in your process? Are you able to do that in any way, shape, or form?
Well, I can't say how I would have ruled on them because the ones that I would talk about are probably going to come back to the court. I'll go back to the Aparicio case, and I'll tell you what I think was wrong with it versus what I would do if it came back. How about that? The Aparicio case, like I said, it was a case of illegal immigration. They were arresting, y'all probably saw this in the media last summer. They were arresting men and not arresting the women and children. The reason they were doing that is twofold. One, there was not room in the detention centers for females and children. There was room in the detention centers for men. But also, the risk profile of a single man coming into this country is very different than the risk profile of a woman with children, right? Well, they alleged a selective prosecution pre-trial, and the court, had they followed the law as it was in place, they would have said, you don't have a right to challenge this pre-trial. You'll go to trial and you can't challenge your arrest, right? But instead, because of their own personal view on what was happening at the border, they decided to create a new pretrial writ to allow illegal immigrants to challenge their arrest. What happened is hundreds of cases that had come in at that time then get put on hold because that case now has to go up to the Court of Criminal Appeals. More than likely, it is going to be reversed and come back. And that means that we would then readdress all of these cases. Now, what do you think is going to happen given that these defendants have been set free for the last year and a half? You're never going to prosecute those cases, right? So the court was able to do what it wanted to do, not following the law, but creating a procedure that allowed hundreds of illegal immigrants to
Lori, don't you
avoid.
think also the kids in cages was a bad optic? And they didn't want to do that?
Maybe,
Maybe.
but I think it goes back to, do we have judges that are committed to rendering decisions that are firmly rooted in the law? Are we having judges that are legislating from the bench, right?
Why was there no oversight for these activist judges? I mean, go to the Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, that's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. I mean, it's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Somebody who's got a lot of experience and knows that, you can be both one of each party. And they come down on the side of what's supposed to be right, not what we're making up.
Yeah.
Why is there not, or has anybody?
So
thought of
a
it?
couple of things about that. One of the problems right now is we have district court judges who are not following the law, but then you don't have the check of the fourth court because the fourth court is also highly Democrat, highly activist, right? So first of all, you'd at least have a check on the district court if you had a more balanced Court of Appeals. Yes, they can be reviewed, and it's actually the second most reversed court in the state right now. But that's only 5% of the cases. So in terms of what you're talking about, that goes to the Judicial Conduct Commission. Right now, there are so many complaints against judges in Texas. They are a year behind in investigating a complaint. So if you make a complaint today, the judge doesn't even get asked about it for a year, right? And that really started in 2018. And what else happened in 2018? We had a wipe of very experienced judges by the electorate, and a bunch of new judges come in, right? So we have the Judicial Conduct Commission in place, but we've got a problem. And really the only way to fix it is to make sure we're electing experienced judges with good temperament, firmly committed to the oath they take on the bench.
Real quick, voters' guides are very important. And so we have an issue with judges, as you know, that they don't want to go on record answering questions and things of that nature. And so to some other people's point is, vote blue and they know what to do. We want to be edumacated, if you will, but none of the judges want to educate us.
Yeah.
And so we're in this quandary.
Yeah.
We can't even promote you, even if we wanted to.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. I am happy. I'm going to meet with Patrick this afternoon.
We'll pray for you.
I am happy to have a conversation with a friend one-on-one and talk about my views. I'm not going to sit in front of a group and publicly proclaim my views, because that would give you a reasonable person a belief in how I would rule on certain cases, and that is against the Code of Judicial Conduct. I don't want to hide my views. I'll talk to Patrick and he can tell whoever he wants, right? I can tell you other people that have known me for decades that will tell you who I am in my heart and my faith and all that stuff. So it's not about hiding it, but for me, it's about protecting the